Hello everyone, Rare Model Reviews here, and today we have the 1400 Kotobukiya Unit 8 Gamma. So, first and foremost, I forgot to mention last review, but that was the first time I ever built a Kotobukiya kit, the Unit 13, and this is my second. Now, spoilers if no one's watched that review, was not a fan of Unit 13 from Kotobukiya. That kit came out 2014. This one came out last year, 2021. So we're going to see how much the technology has improved going from that kit to this one here. Now, first and foremost, the colors here aren't half bad, much like Unit 13. Now, there are a few areas where it isn't quite color matched perfectly, and I will get to that later. But for now, we're going to go straight on to articulation. So first and foremost here, we have the head, and I'm a big fan of this thing's head. This thing has crazy articulation. Like you can see, this thing can look all the way up, do a nice flying looking pose here, belly flop, whatever you want to go with it. This thing can do just about anything, and you can see he even has that interesting little joint on the neck there. Do a little chicken thing, no problem. Rock the head side to side. Go 360. Only from this little neck here. The head can spin on its own, but if you spin it too much, the head's going to want to pop off. So you could basically only rock it about side to side before that starts to happen. And much like Unit 13, this thing has like parts with multiple colors molded into it. So no stickers whatsoever on this guy or girl. I'm not sure whether this thing is a male or female because it's pink, but also has the spinal movement, much like 13 did. So very good. Some nice side to side. And I just want to mention the body was like 3 segments built together. So it has some amazing waist movement. Look at that. This is more like it, what I wanted to see with the waist articulation from 13. So once again, straight off the bat, the technology has more than improved for this guy here. So the arm only go up to about the side there. Could be a little better, but not too bad. If you can make that out from the top here, it might be a little easier. It has this little joint here for the shoulder, so not bad for the movement. So it very much can finesse it here. Get crossed arms here going. Geesh. This other arm here is a little stiffer than the other, but for the most part, oh geez, the hand popped out. Yeah, for the most part, it can do it. I guess you could finesse a little bit, right? I also want to mention this thing's not nearly as bad as 13 was when it comes to the parts popping out. The hands are a little loose, and I'm sure you can imagine why, but I'm not gonna complain about that. And arm, unfortunately, the articulation of arm is not much better than 13's, but it does have some nice piston action here going. If you can see that there, the little gear on the arm moves with it, piston moves there, so pretty cool. Wrists are really good. Actually, might as well take this out. It has like this joint in the wrist here. If you see that, that moves, so that helps with the wrist movement. You can do a lot with the wrist. Unfortunately, again, this hand's a little loose, so pop out if you do too much, but the wrist movement here is almost limitless. Leg, can't quite, I mean, it can, it's a little awkwardy looking, I guess, but go pretty high up. Unfortunately, you move it too much, still like Unit 13, it'll want to pop out, but can't quite do the splits. So the legs have been a little bit more improved since 13, not by much, but I mean, come on, that's still pretty good nonetheless, so you can't complain too much about it. Much like 13, the foot can't go too far up or down, but it has still decent articulation there. And unlike 13, again, this thing's a lot more solid. Ankle movement's still pretty good nonetheless. Now, I think that just about does it for articulation. One thing I want to mention is, I'm guessing since the original version of Unit 8 came out before this guy, there's some parts left over from it. So coming back to the chest here, it wanted you to actually make the chest part yellow. but I don't quite remember the coloration of this thing for the movie, so I decided to be different with mine and do kind of like a asymmetrical design. So if you notice there, that piece on the chest is gray, and the one on the foot I made gray. And then, of course, this side's yellow and yellow. I believe that, like I said again, the chest is supposed to be yellow and the bottom is supposed to be gray, but like I said, I wanted to make mine a little different, so yeah. So now that we're about done with articulations, I'm gonna go for the accessories. Now it has, much like 13, this little butt piece here that you switch out the backs for, and this would be to mount it on an action base, which I don't have, so I'm going to show it off, but that's just about all I'm going to use it for. We have this piece here. This is actually for the next accessory, which is the chainsaw thingy. I don't know what the heck to call this thing. You're actually supposed to mount it. Actually, maybe, yeah, you're supposed to mount it on here and then attach this piece to the base so you'll be able to hold this thing up. Oh, actually, I don't think I've ever used this thing in the hands to see if it holds up very well, but we'll get to that in a second. I want to actually move on to this interesting thing here, and this is funny because I complained about this for Unit 13, but it didn't have an entry plug feature. However, this guy here does. So what you first do is take out this piece in the back, and then you have a little tiny entry plug, only molded in white. You put that in there. Now, one thing I messed up when I first did it is you have to be careful which end you put it. If you notice, there's like a rounded tip here. This goes up. The bottom piece here is like flatter. You're supposed to put that one going downwards. If you do not, the thing's going to be a pain to get out. Thankfully, I managed to get it out, but I was definitely sweating there because I was afraid that thing might have been lodged in there permanently. So, unfortunately, you can't transform it like I'm pretty sure the real grades can from a Bandai, of course. However, it has like a little parts forming thing you can do there, and all in all, that's still pretty sick. So I can forgive them for that not being transformable just because of the fact it's at least there on like Unit 13s. And especially with that thing having 2 entry plugs, you gotta admit, that would have been pretty interesting to see. Now going on to its last accessory here, if you don't want to count the hands, you have like this little umbilical cord whip type thing, and this thing is on like a little movable cord here, so you can do just about whatever you want with this thing, and then you just take out the hand to put it in. I already have a trigger finger type hand molded here, so imagine if you have any compatible accessories, like I believe the original version of Unit 8 has a pistol. I'm sure you'll be able to put that thing in there, probably even using the same hands. And of course, as you guys can probably guess, this guy holds this thing up, no issues whatsoever. Now moving on, we have 2 holding hands, and these are for the buzz saw here. So I'm just gonna throw that in there, move this, and we're gonna go ahead and do a test to see how good this guy is at holding this buzz saw. And as I suspected, no issues whatsoever. Can hold this thing up no problem. Just get them in more stable pulls. So, very impressive. And then we also have, of course, another trigger finger hand here. So again, mounts in no problem. And then we have 2 fists here as well. Now, one interesting about this kit is it had a bunch of different little pegs for the arms there for holding the different hands or whatever. So I'm going to see if I can get this thing out so I can even put the fists in. Again, this thing is much more high quality than 13. So things fit in much better. And as you can see, no problem getting that fist in there. So this one isn't articulated like the other one. It's like just a straight up peg. So I decided to use that one on a fist because I didn't want to have the loose parts around. Thankfully, they mount in no problem for the most part. I can get this one out too. There we go. So in there pretty decent, which isn't a bad thing. So now have the Unit 13 ready to box somebody here. And also, if you guys were wondering, this thing, it has tiny feet, but they're a lot more flat. that makes sense. This thing's kind of like more flat-footed, I guess you'd say. So it's a bit more stable. So as you can see, very minor finagling is needed in order to get this thing steady. And again, I'm not going to complain about that at all. Now, I believe that is it. I'm trying to think. It might have had a couple of extra hands. I want to say I had more grasping like hands. I'm not sure what I did with them, but no big deal. It's much like Unit 13s where they look basically the same. It's just that they're a bit more gropey. So I'm going to end this thing off with some size comparisons here. Oops. That's okay. I need to stand him up anyway. So as you can see there, had to finagle him a little bit just to get him to stand still. And I want to stand this guy up straight so you get a better size comparison, because these are a direct thing to compare with since they're both from Kotobukiya. And I just threw a Bandai kit in there just for the hell of it. This one being the high grade 144 Juagu. Ooh, not quite. There we go. So as you can see, surprisingly, I could actually back this up a little bit more so you guys see that better. This guy. Come on, stand up straight, pal. So as you can see, the 8's actually a little bit taller than 13, which I was surprised about. I figured he probably would have been bigger than 8, but looking very good here. So I'm going to go ahead and call it, you guys. I would actually highly recommend Unit 8 here. Not so much 13. Of course, 13 is about 7 years older, if my math here is correct. And again, just the amount of improvements they did for 8, it's very impressive. The coloring, as I was mentioning I was going to go over before, is kind of lackluster. Definitely leaves something to be desired. And again, since we have plenty of time here, I'm going to go ahead and bring out the manual. So first and foremost, this thing has a lot of leftover pieces. Like I said, these the yellow ones here, some polycaps there. The weird thing is it actually has a bunch of miscellaneous parts you could use to build extra arms for this thing, I imagine. Be a little bit complicated when it comes to attaching things. And I imagine some of the pieces here are grooves where you need the backing part, probably for some pink parts. For like the if you can, 13 might be a better example. How you have like the, these little parts right there. This one doesn't have it because it has this. And what I never actually noticed until I actually built this thing is it's like it has an Ava's arm, but it has like these metal binders over it. I'm guessing this is like kind of help the pilot control it better, because obviously it comes from a different Ava, so I can imagine that would make it a little difficult for the pilot to control a different Ava integrated into one. So like I said, I was going to go over the colors a bit more. So busting out the manual, you'll notice first and foremost for the shoulders here, that part there is supposed to be white. On the actual kit itself, it's molded all in black. It's supposed to be like some bronze type material here on the binders. This one is just all black. The hands, these things are all gray. They're supposed to be like yellow with some black in there or whatever. Go over to the little parts of the feet there, all black. It's supposed to be like yellow for the little cufflinks on the ankles or whatever. And again, I did asymmetrical. It's supposed to be gray. It's gray here. It's just, I'm doing asymmetrical stuff with it. So not bad. Still color separate pretty well, but it is some strange head scratching pieces, such as, there's white on the knees here, yet they couldn't spring for some white parts in the binders, which I think is a little odd. Stuff like that. But once again, guys, if you're a fan of Unit 8 and all this quirkinesses and don't mind that's pink, I definitely highly recommend this guy. I wonder if it's just as good for the original Unit 8. So if you like that one, hey, pick it up, and you never know, it might surprise you. And I was very happy that this guy was amazing. Honestly, that's funny. I was expecting this guy to be lackluster and this one to be amazing, but I guess bigger isn't always better. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. This is Rare Model Reviews here, signing out.